Hi, my name is Scott, and thank you so much for giving me a few moments of your time to talk about something that I've been pretty passionate about for the last 17 years of my career in adult higher education. More recently, the last 10 years that I've spent focused specifically on online higher education. It's exciting times right now, kind of crazy times too. It's pretty interesting to think that at the beginning of 2020, the word COVID wasn't even a word we were using on a regular basis. And yet in just a few short months, all of a sudden we have we have kind of shifted our focus from our comfortable on-campus programs to now having to focus on online as an option for students, for our schools, in order to stay viable in some ways. It's interesting that when you think about change, change sometimes creates a spirit of fear and anxiety, the whole idea of the unknown and not knowing how to make things work and how it's going to end. It can also create a spirit of excitement about the opportunities that's before us. We often feel this around this time of the year as we head into the holidays, and we're starting to think about all the eating and all the good food that we're going to have. And as we get towards the end of the year, all of a sudden we start purchasing gym memberships and diet plans because we want change to our physical bodies in such a way that's going to make a difference in the upcoming year. And we put a lot of our hope in the idea that not today, but tomorrow we're going to change and things are going to be better. My wife and I actually try and get a jump start on that and eat a little healthier as we head into the busy holiday season. We kind of commiserate a little bit together as we're going through things. Just last week, she had emailed me over this little statement here saying I was going to start dieting, but Halloween is coming up. Then Thanksgiving and Christmas candy, and before you know it, it's barbecue season again, and I'm not about to turn down a cheeseburger. And I couldn't help but laugh out loud when I read that, because isn't that really truly the way things are? We want to change, but we want to change tomorrow when the right time to change is today. So maybe you're a school that has been talking about online, but never really done anything about it. And now you're trying to figure out ideas on how to get this thing going and how to market and generate leads. Or maybe you're a part of a school that has been doing this for a while, and now that there's increased competition, you're trying to figure out how to do things better and more cutting edge. Whatever the case, I'm hoping that you'll find some things that are going to be beneficial throughout our time here. First thing you want to consider is online equals a bigger pond to fish from, which can be a good thing because it means more students, but it also means more challenges. My mom has a little fish pond that's similar to the one here on the bottom left of your screen. It's interesting. She knows what fish are in there. She knows exactly what to feed them, how to take care of that little pond to make sure that it stays clean. And sometimes that's kind of the way our schools are, right? We're in a small community. We know where to market. We go to church with the person that runs the radio station down the road. We know the person that's going to cut us a deal on the billboards that we're putting up. But once you start thinking about online and the unknowns that go with that, the markets that you're going to hit, all of a sudden it becomes a little bit more like the picture on the right. You don't know what you're going to be heading into. You don't know what the competition is doing. So all of a sudden it becomes a big sea of unknown that you have to consider. There's good things about it, but you just have to know where to find those new leads and how to be successful. And the thing is, COVID has increased that competition all the more, because a whole bunch of schools are doing it. Like I said, not to thrive, to survive in some cases. So the main thing is, when it comes to fishing, you want to know what you're fishing for. I used to live close to a pay lake, and when I say pay lake, it basically was the size of the average pond that you might find in your backyard. But they called it a pay lake to try and draw in people and get all their money and all that whole bit. It was pretty close to my house, and I've got 4 boys, and they don't have a lot of patience with fishing. And so I thought, you know what, let me take them down here. We'll fish for a couple minutes. They'll get frustrated, and then we'll just turn around and go back. And it won't be a big deal. So we're sitting there fishing, and we're catching little bluegills and bass and things like that. And these guys pulled up, and they had these fishing rods that were like 12 to 15 feet long, which if you know anything about fishing, you don't really need a rod that big to fish for little bluegill. You need a rod to fish for sharks. That's usually about that size. So very interesting that they chose such big fishing rods for such a little pay lake that had just a little bass and a couple little bluegill in there. So you definitely want to know what you're fishing for. Some factors to consider. Maybe you're probably ultimately shooting for males and females at your school, but if you're promoting certain programs, you want to make sure that you're targeting the right person. Do you have a program that primarily draws in female students? Then market that way. Have a female on your marketing materials. The age is a big factor, especially when you consider that adult education at an online level can consist of anybody from the age of 18 till whenever Jesus calls people home. Whatever the case, we want to make sure and keep in mind that we want to have an age that reflects the right demographic that we're looking for. If you go too young, you're going to chase away your older folks. If you go too old, you're going to chase away your younger folks. Employment status is very key when it comes to marketing in certain areas. You might have high unemployment in the town that you have your physical school at, but some of the towns that you're marketing towards may have very great employment, and they may be looking for master's programs instead of undergraduate programs. So do your research on those areas and figure out what's going to be the best marketing that accurately reflects who I want. Race is a big factor as well. I've worked at a couple of different schools. My first two were small communities that were primarily white. The school that I'm currently at is in a state capital, and it has, our demographic is 50% African American. And with that, we have several African American schools that are feeders for our master's programs. And I actually had somebody, when we first came here, somebody from an African American school say, hey, look, come speak to my people and my grads and bring some marketing materials with you that'll help promote Columbia International University. So I show up, and I kid you not, all of our marketing materials were pretty much all white people. I was so embarrassed. Make sure that your marketing materials reflect the audience that you're going to be speaking to and speaking with. Geography also plays a role sometimes in the culture that you're appealing to. Do people rush to decisions? If you're appealing to a military audience that's near a base, they're going to be more disciplined and on top of their game. Whereas if you're reaching out to certain geographic regions, people might take their time in the enrollment process. And so timing out that marketing in such a way that appeals to the right demographic of people is going to be very key. And then comfort level with technology. You might have first-time learners that are looking at coming to your school that saw an ad that said, hey, yeah, do school in your pajamas in a chair right beside the fireplace. It's no big deal. And then all of a sudden they get enrolled in online and realize, no, it's a lot more difficult to do online because you don't have somebody there with you to coach you along the way. So make sure that your marketing accurately reflects the things that you're doing to come alongside folks to help them be successful. If you offer free tutoring, then make sure you market that. If you have laptop computers that you're including in the program, make sure you market that. Some challenges that you're going to face as you expand is that the competition is greater, as we said, but it also is going to bring about questions that you might not be prepared for. Financial aid availability. Some states offer free financial aid or free education for people for associates programs. A lot of states have state grants that pertain only to that state. So you have to be aware of that and think about how you're going to come alongside that and maybe offer a discount rate or try and find a scholarship that'll help people feel that they're making a financially sound decision. When it comes to accreditation questions, make sure you're aware. Are you nationally accredited, regionally accredited? Do you have specific accreditations for your majors? Sometimes you're going to get prospective students that are looking at a competitor and saying, well, this school has a business accreditation that you don't offer, so I'm not going to go to your school. Well, find ways that you can combat that. You may know that that specific business accreditation is not needed to help that person get a job, but they may not know that. So help communicate that in such a way that you can hopefully get that student to choose your school. Communicating the vision can be more difficult. You must have a strong marketing budget. I can't emphasize that enough. A strong marketing budget is where you need to focus a lot of your dollars. The average higher education school is spending more than 63% of their overall budget on marketing. So keep that in mind. I worked with a school a little while back that was trying to get their online program going. And one of the first questions I asked them is, what is your marketing budget? Their response was, we don't have one. And so that's always a scary answer. I came back and I said, how many students do you want? And they said, well, we want to try and fill our classrooms, our online classrooms, that is. So I said, okay, let's factor in a budget. I created 3 different plans, a conservative, an aggressive, and something in between, on how many students they would want to go for in a year. And I factored in a $2,000 cost per student budget. And I gave them the plan. And a week later, I heard back from them, who the person who had presented to their president, and their response was, our president wants to know what we can do for free. And so I couldn't help but laugh, because don't we all, right? We all want free advertising that's going to bring us students. But the truth of the matter is 63% of your budget needs to go towards marketing. Put as much money as you can towards marketing, and it's going to bring in the students. What I would recommend, and we can work with individual budgets to try and help you be successful and start small, but start with your community. Switch some of your ads to say, hey, look, we're starting to offer online education. Then move to your counties, then move to your state, then move to your tri-state area, and then do some research and find out where your applications and your students are coming from, what specific states, and focus your advertising on those states, so that you're not just taking a shot in the dark and advertising in California or Maine or Alaska or New Hampshire or whatever, when your state is nowhere near any of those places. Consider paying attention to how events and environments are altering that strategy. If you have an advertisement you're thinking about placing out in a rural community where it's going to be very visible because it's the only thing out there, but nobody's going to be on that road, you may want to consider going for the busier area on the right-hand side of the road that is going to get stuck with traffic and the whole bit there, and you're going to get a whole lot more visibility. Think about how COVID has impacted your strategy. When people were not allowed to leave their homes and they had to work from home and do school from home a few months ago, I was pulling down my billboards and my radio ads, and I was moving my ads to social media and website and TV. Think about that as current events affect things. Retention is tough, and students have very little patience for failure when there's so many options out there. So your customer service has to be the best. If you don't believe me on that, check your clearinghouse reports on your prospective students and see how many schools they've attended. Oftentimes you're seeing ranges of 3 to 6 schools that people are attending, and they can change schools just for the craziest little reason. So make sure your customer service is at its best. Try and remove the barriers that are in place to get students. This one's going to drive academics nuts, because it might mean trimming reference forms from 3 to 1 for a program, or maybe you're doing interviews and don't need to do the interview. Think about what barriers you can remove without sacrificing quality for your programs. Are you requiring a 2.5 GPA and then turning down people that have a 2.3? How can we help that student get enrolled and work with that 2.3 to help them get that GPA up to where you want it? Staff and faculty must be on board, so that vision must be communicated well, and it must be communicated from the president's office. The customer service cannot end with the recruitment and once the person gets enrolled. Your hiring decisions must be well timed. build that full football team. I like to use analogies. And as I think about a football team, you have your star players, your recruiters and your salespeople and your marketers that are out there, but you have to be able to build the financial aid. You have to build the registration office, the accounting office, to help support all of the recruiters and the marketing so that you're ready to provide a good quality experience for these students. There's a couple of different ways that you can get online students, and some of them are more cost effective than others. So I just thought I'd run through a few of these. Social media is going to be a big one, especially right now. The vast majority of marketing dollars is going towards social media right now. Consider that. LinkedIn, Facebook, all of these other areas that you could be marketing in. Consider social media to be one of the top. One of the more cost-effective ways is advancement, making connections with your advancement team. Your advancement team is connecting with donors who generally have resources and access to people that might be great students for your programs. So be good friends with your advancement team. Try and see what lunch and learns you can do through some of your donors that believe in your school, and offer opportunities to do information sessions for prospective students that are employees of their particular workplace. Your alumni, another great network. You're talking about people that already believe and buy into your mission. So find ways to connect with them and promote through your magazine that you send out to them. Maybe offer some fun ways to refer students. And if somebody refers a number of different students, maybe there's a prize, or you can do a drawing for $500 for a gift card or something to the person that can actually bring in the most referrals. And for every referral, they get one entry into your drawing. And you might sit there and say, $500 is too much for my budget. That's fine. Adjust it to whatever needs to happen there. Maybe offer them a week off or something like that, whoever wins the prize. But one thing I would encourage you to think through is the average cost per student is somewhere around $2,000. So $500 to get 10, 20, 30 leads is not a bad investment. Coworkers, you've got other people that are buying into your mission. Have them find ways to do a referral program there too, and have them try and offer you some leads for your programs. Corporate contacts, who are your top 5 contacts? Work through your advancement office. You might find some of those contacts through there, or who's on your board from the community that can help you out. And then from there, build your next 5 contacts for the next year. Think through the relationships that you need to build to help make those contacts and get somebody who buys into your mission. One of the more expensive options is Google Keywords. I used an example from the school I work at. We have a seminary called Columbia Biblical Seminary, or the abbreviation would be CBS. So if you were to type into Google your particular school, I'd be interested in seeing how many schools come up before your school even comes up in the search engine. I don't know about you, but usually when I'm searching for something, I click on the first 2 or 3 links, tops. After that, I'm not worrying about it. Our school, CBS, you can imagine there's a lot of CBSs. So our school was buried back a couple pages deep. So what we did is we worked with our IT folks and our marketing folks, and we established keywords that we put bids on for that increase our visibility in that search engine. So you may want to think about that a little bit. And if you need some help or suggestions, I'm happy to offer some suggestions as we go. I'll give you my contact here at the end of the presentation. The last thing is website. Be aware of your info requests and your application. This is prime real estate, so you want to make sure that you've got a simplified application and info request form. Work through it. Are there questions that you're asking online folks that are more relevant for traditional on-campus folks? Remove those barriers as you can. Look at your website, see what's on your homepage. That is prime real estate for enrollment and admissions. Do not put things on there that aren't going to help direct students towards your school. Think through that and guard that space very, very carefully. Are you promoting new programs? Are you promoting your new format? Are you promoting events like information sessions and opportunities to come and learn more about your programs? do that and get that out there. One last thing on the social media thing, you don't have to put posts out there saying, come to X university. That's going to annoy people and drive them nuts. You can do some of that, but also put in a lot of stories about what's going on with your athletics, what's going on with your school, what's your COVID response, how are you giving back to the community during times where there's a lot of social unrest. Think about that, ways that you can promote your school in a positive light that's going to interest people. So in sum, lead generation and marketing for online students will vary greatly from your on-campus strategy. So don't try and treat it like it's the same thing. Proper lead generation and marketing is an investment. Think about it like it's a portfolio, and you want to make sure you're getting the right leads in the right mix. There's no perfect mix that goes from one school to the next. You just have to find what that perfect mix is for you. I put trial and adjustment, not trial and error, trial and adjustment. You have to try it and then adjust to it. You must focus the majority of your budget on marketing and outreach. Can't say it enough. 60% of your budget or better. And then have the right people on the right seat on the bus. So thank you so much for taking some time with me. I wanted to leave my email here for you. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me. I'm happy to work with you and help you out however I can. Hope you have a good rest of the day, and thanks again.